I thought I might share a little video with you on some of the leather work that I've been doing. This is one I'm doing for a revolver. Actually, the revolver's right here. And finished staining it. It's for my dad. And right now I'm sewing on some belt loops. I've cut them out and stained them. I'm actually going to put 2 on there. Cut them out and stained them. I've sewed the top one on this one. I'm going to sew the bottom one now onto this one. So I forget what this is, the sewing style this is called, but basically you have a needle on each side of the thread. So I thread the needle, and then once we do that, we start the sewing, kind of lock it up there. So we put the other needle on. Hopefully I got enough thread here. I think I do. So this is like a wax thread that I got from almost all the stuff I have. I think actually all of it comes from Tandy Leather. So now I'm going to start at the top here. I've already punched the holes for this. So I just got to line them up. Basically run the thread through and even it up here so that it's the same length. Then we run it through the next hole down. And once you get one side through, then you take your other needle and run it back through that same hole. Maybe. There we go. And then pull it tight. You can see once you pull it tight there, then you get the little loop thing, and then you can just continue on like that. You run one through on this side. Once you run it through, you grab the other one, run it through that same hole so that it comes out there. See? Then pull them tight so that they remain tight. Actually this top hole I'm going to double thread, so I'm going to try to make the hole a little bit bigger using this, I don't know, hole punch thing, whatever you want to call it. Because I'm going to run the thread through it twice to double up the strength on that corner. Okay. And then it's just a matter of continuing on that pattern till you come around to the other corner again. Now I'm hoping that I have enough thread here because it's starting to shorten up somewhat. Can't see very well, so I got to get these. I wear reading glasses with some flip down. I don't know, zoom in kind of glasses as well, so that I can see it really well. I think I'm gonna have enough thread. This is the first time I've done a belt loop. I actually, a friend of mine, Troy's, did a belt loop for a knife, and for me and for others. And that's kind of where I learned it from. I just took his design and trying it for this revolver. I hope that it works. Again, I've never actually done a belt loop, so you don't really see a lot of guns with these kind of belt loops either, so that was weird. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. I hope my dad likes it. I'm not sure what just happened there. Anyway, I'm going to try to fix whatever I just did, and I'll continue on here in a minute. Well, I fixed it and then stabbed myself with the needle. A little blood on the leather work. And we'll just continue on here. Hopefully this stops. Man, I got blood everywhere. Well, I'm gonna have to bandage this so I don't get blood all over my leather here, so I'm gonna have to pause you for a little bit. Alright, just continuing on with my sewing here. And actually got a little blood on my, stabbed myself with the needle, got a little blood on the holster. I guess they can DNA it in the future and know that I did it. Anyway, I do these, somebody had mentioned to me that I ought to do a video on how I do these. And by the way, if you're watching this, I am an amateur. I have not even been doing this very long, and most of the things I've learned, I learned from a friend of mine, Troy, and from watching YouTube videos. But I do these from scratch. Oh, I may have to cut some of my thread a bit. I do these from scratch. As you can see, this comes in a lighter color leather. I'll just show you really quickly if I can turn the deal here. Well, maybe I can't turn it. I'll just have to show you. So if you look down here, you can see some of the leather sheets that I've worked off of. Cut some holsters out of that one. And you can see that one. This is the one underneath is a thinner piece. You notice it's a lighter color. I don't really use it for holsters, but I got another roll over there. So I get these rolls from, I get them from Tandy Leather. And most places have a, seems like they're a pretty popular chain, and they have a Tandy Leather all over the place. So you could probably find one near where you live. And I normally just drive down there to save on shipping costs, because the one that's close to me is in San Bernardino, and it's about a 40-minute drive, but it saves on shipping, and I don't have to wait on the material to get here. I can just go pick it up. So that's what I do. Go down there, I'll pick up the leather. So once I get the leather, then so again, I'm new at this, so I'm learning as I go. But what I do is I take the gun that I'm going to do the holster with, and I create using like a hard paper. A hard stock paper. I create a like a cutout of the holster. Let's see if I have one right here. I can show you. You can see a couple of them here where I've done some of them. Just a little cutout of the holster, however I'm going to do it. Whichever one I'm doing, there's a variety of different ones here that I've been trying to work on. And so once I have the paper cut out, now the problem with doing it with paper is the leather that I use is thicker than paper, and so you have to take into account, or I've learned the hard way to take into account the thickness of the leather, so that I have to cut out a bigger piece when I'm there we go. When I'm cutting it, when I'm cutting the leather. So I've had a couple pieces I've actually can't even use, because once I cut them out, I'm gonna need to, once I cut out the pieces, they were too small. The leather pieces were too small and the gun wouldn't fit in there, so I had to actually just kind of use them as scrap leather now. I was worried that I wouldn't have enough. So I don't have enough thread because the needles are so long. So I'm just gonna cut these off here, and I'm gonna just basically you can do this with thread, and you just go back a couple holes, and again, I don't know much about sewing either. My wife does, but learning this stuff from various YouTube and other channels. So you can go back a couple holes and then just double up, and you're splicing in basically the thread into the leather. So let me thread these needles real quick, and we'll continue on. I was almost done. I was actually to the last hole and didn't get it done. So anyway, I thought I'd do this little video, just kind of show people how it's done, how I do it anyway. And again, I'm a rookie at this, so this is just what I do. So once I cut it out, now when I first started doing it, I would just make the holster, but I had read somewhere, was watching a video of a guy who was making holsters, and he took suede and he glued suede on the inside of the holster to protect the gunmetal. So that's what I've done. I've cut out, so once I cut out my leather piece, I also cut out a piece of suede, and I glued, that's my blood stain right there, and I glue the suede into the leather. Once I have it glued in there, I'll start at the top and go that way. No. Once I have it glued in there, there we go. It's tight fit. Let it dry, and then once, you know, again, I've learned some things the hard way, because I've had to get rid of some leather work because I didn't do it quite right. So I've had to learn these things kind of the hard way. But I used to sew up or stain the leather at that point, and then once I had it stained, then I would form it around the gun. So you basically wet form your leather. I know I'm babbling a little bit, but basically what you do with your leather is you wet it. I use kind of a lukewarm water. I'll let it fill up the water in the sink, and I'll let it just kind of get halfway up or so, and then once it's about halfway up, I'll put my leather into the water, and I will come on, man, don't want to go through there. Maybe that one will do it. I'll put it in the water. I'm repeating myself. Once it's, there we go. Once it's wow, that was tougher than I thought. Once it's nice and wet, I'll let it sit in there for a couple minutes maybe, and push it underwater a little bit. Once it's wet, I take it out, and then I haven't really found a good way to do this yet, so I've got to practice some more. But I take my gun, the gun that I'm using to make the holster for, and I'll wrap it in like cellophane, so that so it's completely wrapped in cellophane, and then I'll take the leather that's wetted down, and I will form it around the gun. And I have some clips. I don't have them in here, they're out in my garage, but I have some clips that I basically will clip the leather onto the gun. It's not sewed on, and so instead of having the edges sewed, I just clip the edges onto the gun, and I'll let it dry like that for some time. Now we'll trim these off, make them look good, or decent anyway. So wet formed around there with the cellophane around the gun. That I haven't really. The point of that is to keep the moisture off the gun so that it doesn't get wet when you're forming the leather around the gun. Problem is I haven't really been successful with that. So I have to come up with some other way, I think. I think a lot of guys that make a lot of holsters, they buy these blue guns or they'll have some replica kind of guns made. And if you're making a lot of guns, or if you're making a lot of holsters of one particular model or gun, that's great. But those things cost about $50 to $60 each. And so if you're only going to make one gun, you're paying $60 for this mold or whatever to make one gun. Now I'm just going to clip off the ends here, try to clip it or snip it as close as possible without cutting the leather. So it's not really cost effective to get those if you're only doing one gun. So what I have done is people have asked me to do holsters for them, and I tell them, well, the problem is I need your gun, and I don't just need it for a little bit of time. I need it to you can see that this thing I had to glue on, and you got to cut out the deal, so you got to have the gun for that. Once you glue on the suede and mold it, you have to have the gun for the molding process. Then I dye it and stain it and begin to sew it together, and you need the gun for that process. So it's just, the problem is I need the gun for a period of time. And who wants to give up their gun to somebody, especially somebody they don't necessarily know? So it's basically how it'll work there. You can just pull the belt loop through. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another one on this side over here, so you kind of have a double belt loop so it's a little more sturdy. That's my thought anyway. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, we're going to have to start from scratch. But anyway, that's how I sew it on there. You can see that it's sewed on pretty good. A solid little deal there. Should hold on pretty good, and I get the second one on there and should be nice and sturdy. So once with this one I have, this is, like I said, the first one I've done with belt loops. Normally I've done them with clips. And this is an example of one I did with a clip. So basically I buy the clips and then I cut out the little cover piece over the clip. And then I have a little rivet set that I rivet the leather to the clip so that it's riveted in there. It doesn't move around inside there. Then I glue that all down along with the clip. It's glued down to the leather. And you can probably see some of the glue there. It's not the best job in the world. So once I've glued that down, then I sew it. And this particular one, so I use a punch set to punch in the holes for my sewing deals. So I just basically punch them into the leather. This one I had glued down, and evidently when I glued it, it turned a little bit. So you can see it's kind of canted. The whole clip thing is canted. Now in this case, it's canted the right way. So, because this is inside the waistband holster for a Glock 19, so hopefully it shouldn't create a problem. But yeah. Anyway. So this is the first one I've done with a belt loop. And I got the idea, as I said, from a friend of mine, Troy. This is a knife he made for me, and he made a really nice knife. He made the knife, the handle, everything from scratch, and then he made the leather case as well. He does really good leather work. A lot better than me, I think. So I got the idea from him. You can see he's got a belt loop for this one. I just tried to make a smaller one. This is kind of a big belt loop. So I'm hoping that having the smaller one and having two will keep it sturdy on there. So that's what I'm doing with this one. Hopefully I'll get this second belt loop on fairly soon. Once it's on, then I will begin to sew. You can see I've already stamped some of the holes for my sewing. I'll groove that out so that there's a little bit of a groove there. I got to stamp all the way down on this side. And once that's done, then I'll begin the sewing process. And then, you know, leather's unique. You can shine it up really good. So, you know, you get a brush or something, and I'll do this once I'm done. I just kind of brush it out so that it's nice and brushed. And you can see it kind of has a little bit of gloss to it. Then I have some old t-shirts that I use and really shine it up. Now the edges are interesting. So you can see they're kind of rough right now, but what they'll end up like once I'm done is kind of a rounded, high shiny area like this one here, which basically I did with, I wet those down and I use this little wooden thing and you just rub them down and they become kind of joined together and they get really highly gloss and they look really nice, I think. So that's kind of how you do that. I do that with all the edges, try to shine them up a little bit. And then like this one I brushed out, it's ready to, I might do a little more work on the edges because I'm not really pleased with this stuff on this edge, but so I may do some more work on that. But basically that's it. That's how it's done. And I know that was a short version, but you know, most of this stuff is trial and error and learning from other folks that have been doing it for a long time. So that's what I try to do. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.